Hi, my name is Colin Fain. I'm the CEO of Agronometrics. And today, what we want to do is look at how export data from Peru is going to help us forecast how the market's going to evolve in the US. To get a better context of this, we're going to start off looking at the US market data. So, this is coming straight out of Agronometrics. This is the USDA market service, per se. Um, and here we're going to get a quick overview of these are the prices, these are the volumes, and we want to take this into context. So to do that, we're not only going to look at what's going on by origin. So here's Peru, pretty high prices for Peru. Mexico's just coming on board. And here we can compare the last couple years. So in particular, we're interested in how last year's season compares to this year's. And we can see that this year's prices are considerably higher. Let's look at one of the major driving factors, if not the factor that's really driving this, and that's the lack of volume on the market. And so here we can see last year's volumes, which generally speaking tend to kind of rise up and down against each other. At this low point in 2022, we can see that was the big gap in the US market when some of the seasons were early, especially in the Southwest, and then some of the seasons were late in the Northwest, in the Northeast. And that left a big gaping hole in the US market where the prices jumped up. But that was well filled up this year. And then we had Peru. Peru came on the market. They've been way low on their production. And we can see this big gap between 2022 and 2023. So our question is, how will this evolve? At this point in the season last year for Peru, we already saw volumes starting to trickle off. What is the likely scenario for the next couple months? Are these, or for the next couple weeks, are these volumes going to continue to rise, or are they going to start to trickle off like we saw it last year, maintaining the gap that we're seeing and maintaining the prices high? To get a better context of this, we're going to dive into the information that we have from the global trade data, looking at Peru, and we're gonna kind of dissect this information, see what the latest exports are, and how we can use those to predict the future of what's going to happen in the US market. To do that, we're going to expand on Chartly, clicking on that button. And we want to put this in the same frame of reference that we have for the US market. For Peru, we have weekly data. So we go to weekly. Voila. And here we have the latest export data for Peru. So this is week 43 in Peru and week 43 in the US trade data. We also want to isolate Peru for within the US. And to do that, we're going to open up a live version of the volumes by origin chart. So click on there. Ta-da. And then we want to compare histories. To do that, there's several ways of doing this, but the easiest way is to go, at least one of the easier ways, is to go down to Peru and hit this little clock. That's going to help us compare by history. And voila, here we have last year's imports of Peru registered in the US. We're going to clean it up again and compare last year's imports to this year. So as I previously mentioned, at this point last year, we started seeing volumes kind of trickle off. So the question is, how will this likely evolve for over the next couple of weeks? Is it going to keep on going down, or is it going to keep on going up? If we can look at the Peruvian exports, I think this kind of answers your question. But we're going to go down to the United States, make the same comparison. So we're going to look at not only from the US side what Peruvian imports look like, we're going to look at from the Peruvian side what US exports look like. And we're going to hit the compare by history. Ta-da! And clean up the charts. And this should be a very telling story for market observers at this very moment. We can see that in week 43, so last week, what the USDA is reporting so far, and their numbers aren't completely filled in as of quite yet. On Wednesday, they get most everything filled in. But right now, they're reporting 4,123 metric tons, so 4.1 million kilos. And I apologize for the US people. This is all in kilos because, international audience and all that. You can also put this in pounds if you want, so our clients can go through and adjust this to Americanese if need be. And we can look at what point in the Peruvian season did we hit a similar number. You can also see, just speaking about macro trends, you can see that the general production curve or import curve for Peruvian imports in the US is shifted from the Peruvian exports to the US. That's pretty much amounts to the amount of time that the fruit is on the water. So, and it takes, give or take, 4 to 5 weeks for, depending on what port it goes to and like the ship manifests and a bunch of other stuff, how long that fruit will travel. So we can see week 43 is kind of right at the height of Peruvian imports. And if we go to kind of the height of Peruvian imports, that was about 4 weeks ago. And you can see that 5 weeks ago, for example, week 38 was the highest point in exports. Peru reported 4.4 or 4,469 metric tons. That's pretty close to what the US is reporting they're receiving. What we can also see is that Peru is not letting up. Even though they started, like their season started drifting off last year, they are still growing and they're still pushing out volume. So if we extrapolate what we're expecting over the next couple weeks to happen, we're going to keep on seeing this growth curve. So and we can almost count it out. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in 5 weeks, they should be measured. They should be equivalent, 4 to 5 weeks. So we see this growth curve, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that puts us at week 48. Let's say 47, 48. I'd expect this to be somewhere around there. These two curves will likely match up. Let's say 48 just for, give us margin of error and be a bit more conservative. So week 48, these two curves should match up. So how will that likely play out in the market price in the market? And we're going to go back to USDA data and look at not only volume, so this is the entire market. So this is all of the volume that the US is registering. And we can count it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Week 48, for all intents and purposes, the most likely scenario will be that at week 48, the Peruvian exports or the Peruvian imports will match up the same volume that they were at the previous year. So these two lines should match up at this point. And that could have huge implications. The biggest one is how will this play out in prices? So here we can see that the prices are in the clouds. You can look at the previous videos looking at the mechanics of how USDA and global trade data work and like what the relationship between the prices are. But there's a very strong relationship within the data set itself between prices and volumes. So where there's a deficit, so where the volumes from one year are much lower than the volumes of a different year, that's usually where you see these price spikes. So where they match up, what we're expecting in week 48, the prices usually come down. So what is the likely scenario in the next couple of weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Imagine if the next 4 weeks are going to see these prices free fall, knocking more than $10 off of the value per kilo, down to 444. And I would be willing to harness a bet that that is not an unlikely scenario. If not, the price might even um, dive lower, as programs may not be expecting that much volume. So keep your head up. If you're a trader in this market and obviously a client of the Global Trade Data Service, I hope that this video is informative and eye-opening, if not possibly a bit spooky. It is Halloween today. And I really, this is kind of the best use for timely information in this service. Peru is the best information that we have available. It's the most up to date, and it's comparable to what's made available from the USDA. So this, I think, is one particular area where we're able to help and offer a lot of insights that could have, I mean, I would not be understating a multi-million-dollar impact on the industry. All right. Well, thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next video.